Welcome, everybody. I'm glad to get you together today to go over some follow-up strategies. Most of you probably know me from Automotive Industry Exposed or Mastering Direct Mail. That's two of my courses that a lot of you chose to participate in. But some of you might just be on my list, and that's okay too. I just want you to be able to have a chance to get to know me and know my direction and who I am and what I'm trying to do here. We want to talk about follow-up strategies, and naturally, because automotive is my industry that I chose for my niche, it's going to be a lot of it's going to be focused towards that. But we can also talk about follow-up in other industries as well. But I wanted to go over a couple things and show you the importance of follow-up. And the main reason why we decided to talk about this, most of you know Brian's in the Caribbean right now on a cruise, but he landed a independent dealership last week. And the guy did everything in his power to try and discourage him or persuade him away to not continually to follow up. He kept saying, call me in 15 minutes, call me in 15 minutes. And luckily, Brian was adamant enough and pursued the guy and called back, and continually followed up with the guy to where he landed a pretty good deal. I think he ended up at like $22.50 for some social and a little bit of SEO for an independent dealer, which is nice. That's a good deal. So I know a lot of us have the $500,000 or $600,000 smaller clients, and when you hear our numbers we're talking about with automotive, a lot of people kind of get that wow or aha factor, and they're pretty realistic with automotive. You just see larger response, larger return on your investment and your time. But the main thing I wanted to talk about with follow-up strategies, with the truth here, I want to give you some great information real quick. The truth about how to follow up and land the deal, did you know that 80% of sales are won on the 5th to 12th contact? So I know for a lot of people it's tough to go in there and actually pitch, your first time, and you get down a little bit if you don't get, close the deal the first time, but that's looking at industry standards, that's not even expected. So don't let that persuade you or discourage you. It's the follow-up after the fact. It says, 48% of the people you meet in business, whether you're networking or trade show events or however you're getting your leads, will never follow up with you past the first contact conversation. And I can honestly say I'm guilty of this. I meet people and I think, wow, I need to call that guy or call that lady, and you lose the business card or you throw it in your briefcase or you whatever happens, and you never follow up. If you want to start talking about successful industry and successful business, it doesn't start with just driving revenue. The way you're going to drive that revenue is with proper follow-up. If you don't have a follow-up system in place, you need to get one. And you got to make sure, whether you got to go buy a calendar or a binder book or whatever you got to do. I've got a whiteboard in my room. Obviously, all y'all know I'm not married because no wife would ever allow you to do that. However, I have a whiteboard in my room. I'm a little bit over the top, but that's how I keep up with my stuff, and that's how I make sure I follow up and I'm on time to things. I don't have the greatest memory in the world. I'm guilty of that. I will forget things if I don't write it down and put it in front of me. And the way that I've found for myself is I have a calendar and a whiteboard right inside my closet, and it's kind of a walk-in closet, so it's pretty nice, and that's how I keep up with it. But you want to make sure that you're following up with your people, and don't let the first contact, however it goes, don't let it discourage you. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. We're going to talk about some other stuff. Some more truth real quick. 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 5% of salespeople make a second contact and stop. So 1 out of 4 people only make the second contact. And then 12% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. So realize right now, sales is something that you have to hone and craft and train and get on these webinars and listen to other salespeople or get into the group and ask questions and learn how other guys are selling or girls are selling. But realize right off the bat, even if you're not a salesperson or sales type, or if you're not like me, I'm a sales guy, right? Right off the bat, if you'll just get your follow-up process down, you'll put yourself in the top 12% of closers. Just by properly following up. Because regardless whether or not you're a great salesman or not, the other people are slipping and not doing proper follow-up, getting busy, getting distracted with other projects, buying other shiny objects, whatever it is that you're destroying yourself doing, and not staying at your goal, and that's to continually to follow up. Just because you hear no once, just because you're told I'm busy today, just because you got put on ice in a showroom, and those of you who walked into dealerships know what I'm talking about, doesn't mean you don't follow up. Now, I know your ego or your, this guy's just not professional, and you can think of 100 reasons to give up, but until somebody says no, then follow up one more time. I mean, literally, like, don't let it take you down like that. You know what I mean? You got to follow up. So think about it. The point of I'm trying to point out here is, if you can just have your consistent follow-up procedures, you will put yourself in the 12% that make more than 3 contacts. And I'm going to show you why that's important. So what's the phrase of the day? Follow up. Don't forget it. Here's the deal. Let's talk about first contacts. Let's talk about what you're really trying to sell. A lot of you might be psyching yourself out or getting yourself all excited or nervous that you're going to have all the answers. You're going to freak out thinking that you got to be able to answer any question this guy throws at you, because he might not think you're professional if you don't have it. Those of you taking some of my coaching classes or have listened to me on webinars before, I always like to sit down and I have some preliminary questions I always ask a dealer or a client. And the reason why I like to ask those questions up front is because it gives them a chance to answer the questions. All I'm doing is asking questions. I don't have to think on my feet for the first 5 minutes. It gives me time to kind of slow down and get comfortable in my environment. It gives me a chance to really show them how to allow them to speak and talk about themselves, and I get more time to prepare and to strategically ask the correct questions. So a lot of my preliminary questions, I always ask people how many cars you're selling, new, used. Are you doing any secondary? How's your service? How many ups? How many turns? I ask all the questions. So one, I'll have all the information from the dealer that I need, and two, I get a chance to settle down. And if you'll start doing this, you'll find it to be a lot more effective in your closes. But start thinking of your first contact as something a little bit different than, man, I'm going in, I have this one meeting with this one friend that has 12 rooftop deal, and this is it. You got the whole Eminem playing in the background, freaking out, thinking, this is my one shot to make this work. It's not your one shot. You got to start looking at contacts or your first contact in a sales pitch as more than a one call close scenario. Will it happen? Yes. Will you find that more of those will happen the more people you pitch? Yes. If you have one deal and get your feelings hurt and never pitch somebody else again, you're just going to fail your industry and your business, and that's not going to help you. And that's not going to make you successful. And that's what we're here today, is to make sure and help you get successful. First contact. Network with a specific intent of setting the stage for follow-up. Meaning, let them know that, have a reason to contact them back. Hey, I can get that for you. You'll love what I'm going to show you. When can I get that back to you next week? When will you be available? Go ahead and start setting up your second follow-up. Don't have all the answers to everything the first meeting. Let them know they know you're human. So don't try and act inhuman, or you're not going to build any rapport with them. Okay. Improve your first contact conversations. Now, this is things that you can do with role playing. I always have these role play calls. Some of you jump on, and some of you choose not to, whether you have a mic or not. And I know it's embarrassing. It's not fun. It's not fun to role play. But if you'll role play with either yourself in the mirror or with somebody that you can hold yourself accountable with, pick somebody out of one of the automotive groups or something like that and say, hey, listen, do you mind if we call and role play with each other? Just get your first contact conversations, improve them. Get used to what you're saying. Really, the best way to improve your first contact conversations is to walk indoors. I promise you, every time I walk in a door, I don't sound perfect, but I sound a whole lot better than I did when I started. 3, set the stage for future conversations. Kind of similar as number 1. You want to, when they ask certain questions, if you don't have the answer, don't be afraid of saying, listen, I'm gonna get that proposal together for you. We're gonna meet up, and I want to show you about the reputation product I wanted to show you. When would be best for you, Tuesday or Wednesday? Great, 12:15 or 1:15. Call me crazy. I always set appointments on 0.15s because people tend to show up more. I don't know why. Maybe that's even a lie. I don't even know, but I was told a long time ago. So every time I set an appointment with somebody, and just try it if you get a chance, set it by quarter hours. And I don't know if it sticks in people's mind more or if they know that you're so busy you're actually considering quarter hours. If you're considering whole hours or half hours, you might not be as busy as a guy doing quarter hours. Just some advice. Try it. Try it in your stuff. Increase the number of prospects you are in conversation with. I'm going to tell you right now, that's the secret sauce. That's the end all of end alls. It's funny because some of you know, or some of you might know, I sell a direct mailer a lot. That is a scratch-off mailer. And every single person that scratch it off wins. And it will bring in between 400 to 600 ups in about 4 days. And any dealer that's hired like super sales teams, what I did in the past, they're not afraid of them if you're doing the work. When they get afraid of them is when they have to do the work. They're like, oh man, these people came in, all they wanted was prizes. I mean, it was a mess. Well, what's the bottom line of your efforts? At the end of the 4 days, did we sell 50 cars at $4,000 a copy for $200,000 gross? Would you have done that any other way? No. It took the hard work. It took the hoarse voice. I would leave these sales with no voice. I'd have blisters on my feet. Could I think of 100 other ways I would rather do these sales than actually doing them the way I'm doing them? Yeah, but none of them produced $200,000 gross. And when I left, I walked out with, $80,000 and $90,000 checks for me and my team. So you can try and circumvent or take slower precautions or find easier ways, or isn't there some way that, there is ways you can warm up leads and actually get out there and, maybe have some people call you. But ask yourself this question right now today. Do I want to be successful? Because if you do, you got to create action. And if you can't create enough action with inbound marketing, pull marketing, you're going to have to go out there and push. And to push is to walk into doors. I have a lady that I won't mention names that works with us. She bakes brownies. It's the most genius thing I've ever thought of in my life. It's a great rapport builder. I thought back and I was like, oh my God, I remember this one lady that used to bring me cookies. I used to buy from her every month. I spent thousands of dollars with her. 1, because she was sweet, and 2, she was sweet enough to bake me cookies. And be honest, when you walk into a dealership and you're handing out brownies, you think somebody's going to be mean to you? No. Walk indoors, man. It'll change your life. I don't want to get off the subject here, but increase the number of prospects you're in conversation with. You will see your business turn into a success. And be honest, in 12 months from now, when we're all sitting on one of these webinars and you've walked into 5 dealerships a day or 5 clients a week, and you're billing out $70,000, $80,000 a month in business, are you really going to remember the times you walked in or those times you were scared? It's going to be nothing, man. Move past it. Get through it. Don't let it bring you down. Bow up. Be bigger than you are, man. So, number 5, develop a win-win relationship that engages prospects and builds connections. Meaning, a great way to be a win-win is, and I've told y'all before, when you go in, say, listen, I just want to have a few minutes to show you something. If you don't have a few minutes, I will give you a free consultation. I do normally charge $500. However, I'll waive that if you'll give me 30 minutes of your time anytime you got that you can fit me in next week. It's a win-win. They get a free $500, they get a free consultation, and you get the pitch. Develop a win-win relationship that engages prospects and builds connections. Okay? Discover how to pull your prospect forward to the second conversation and beyond. Meaning, if somebody, you know, a quick way to do that would be if somebody says, well, I really want to know about this reputation management. Well, I got to do a little bit of research for you, and I can do you a complete report. So let's meet the second time. That's discovering how to pull your prospect forward to the second conversation and then push them into the third and fourth meetup. Build the know you, like you, trust you factor. You know, I use comments like, if they ask me a question that I don't know, I say, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. If I guessed, I'd be lying, and I'm not here to lie to you today. That's a way you can build the trust you factor. Get them to like you. You need to build rapport with them. You know, the quickest way to build rapport, to get on somebody's personal level, is to be able to call them by their first name. So when somebody says, my name's Sid Michael, say, great, nice to meet you, Sid Michael. Do you mind if I call you Sid? Get on a first name basis with them. Build that rapport and get personal with them. And to make them like you. Find out what they're into. When you're asking these rapport questions, or these preliminary questions in the beginning, you know that you know, a lot of these questions are look on their desk and see what, you know, sport teams, or see if their kids play baseball. You know, those of you with kids, always ask how many kids they got, share what your age is and what their age is. You know, build rapport. You can still get to the point, but never be so fast to get to the point that you don't build rapport. I'll remind you this: if somebody is irritable or angry or upset or too busy to listen to you, you don't need their business anyway, and you don't want it. Let them know you're a professional, you know what I mean? But you don't need their business. You can move on. If you're walking into 5 stores a day or 5 stores a week or whatever number you put yourself on, I promise you're going to close business regardless of how these people react. Don't let them bully you or scare you or give you a bunch of weird turn downs. You know, if it sounds confusing, I'm not afraid to even say, hey man, I just want your business. What is it going to take? And then just shut up and listen. I promise it'll make some sense. All right, so I'm going to see if we got some questions real quick. All right, seeming desperate. Good question. How do you effectively follow up without seeming desperate? Well, first off, when you position yourself to follow up, you don't say, when can I follow up and get that check? You know what I mean? You say anything but how you want the check. You know, when you follow up, you say, you know, it's something to be like we talked about, a win-win for them. When can I follow up with you and get you that report on how your reputation looks? Or when can we sit down and I can give you that consultation on your reputation? You're asking them something that's a win to them. You're not asking them, you know, something that's only a win to you. When you only ask a win to you, that's when you sound desperate. When you're showing, you know, interest in them, then, you know, let them know. I'll use an example. The guy I just spoke with on the, I just had a guy call, right before I do these webinars, never fails, I have somebody call me. I had a guy call me wanting direct mail out of Columbia, Missouri. And when I was talking with him, I was like, yeah, I'll get that back with you. Hey, you got my cell phone number now. Don't be afraid to call me. I'm a single guy. I'm 24/7. And the reason why I say that, do I really mean call me at 3 o'clock in the morning? No. But I want him to, by me saying I'm 24/7, lets them know that I'm committed, that I would wake up at 3 a.m. and take their phone call. You know what I mean? So let's see here. Let's see what else we got. Tony, I do. You know what? I had the big $100. He's asking about my whiteboards. I had those big $100 whiteboards, and it looked so gaudy. I went to Staples the other day, and they had these peel and stick ones that are awesome. I bought little 24 by 18-inch peel and stick whiteboards, and I put them up just inside my closet so I can look at it whenever I'm getting my stuff. Lou, are the contact attempts combo of email, phone call, and drop-ins? Yes. Yes, they are. You know, an email is a follow-up, as a walk-in as a follow-up. I personally, and anybody that's ever talked to me will tell you, if I have a reason to walk in, I would prefer to walk in. If I don't have a, you know, if it's something that I can just, you know, it's something I need to do real quick, a phone-up follow-up is not bad either. You know, but a walk-in is a little bit harder to be a little bit harder to turn away. So let's see what else we got here. We're sitting on 5th, 6th, and 7th. Is that the slide you are looking at? Somebody's saying the slides aren't changing. All right. So without moving too fast, and I want to give y'all some good intent here, when you're making your follow-ups, understand that the first no, make everybody tell you no twice. But don't be discouraged after the first no or the first reason why they can't buy. And sometimes they won't even tell you no. They'll tell you, well, I need to talk to this person or talk to that person. Because understand that only 2% of your sales are going to be made on first contact. Now, that number will increase as you get better in your pitch. But this is talking about industry standards. This is the average. This is everybody out there. Only 2% of sales made are closed on the first contact. So don't get yourself so worked up. And I'm guilty, man. I did it too. Don't get yourself so worked up on the first contact thinking you got to have all your stuff ready. You got to answer all these questions. Because realize if you took every salesperson in the country and divided it, only 2% of them close the first contact, man. So give yourself a little bit of a break. Understand that your first contact isn't to really make the sale. Understand the first contact is really just setting up future contacts, which does what? Establishes rapport. Does what? Gives time for things to marinate and get in. Does what? Gives you a chance to get your foot in the door. Does what? Gives you a chance to be a familiar face and not, you know, they're as nervous meeting you for the first time as you are pitching them for the first time. Because the last thing they want to hear is some hard closer that won't get out of their office. You know what I mean? But 3%, after your second contact, if you average all the thousands and thousands of big boys that go out there and close people, all the bad boys, all the people that are supposed to be the greatest salespeople in the world, 3% of them make a sale after the second contact. Funny, right? You probably, now you got to ask yourself, how many people quit after the second contact? So how many deals are out there that just never really got followed up on properly, that have just kind of left floundering? Why do you think they have like software now with like ad roll and stuff where you're increasing your website conversions? You know, it's so 10 years ago to talk about website traffic. Now all we care about is conversions. Same thing with sales, man. You want to do follow-up and create and build your conversion on your sales. You want to build your close ratio. You want to drive some revenue back into the company so you can stay alive. You want to keep your direction so you know where you're going, right? 5% of sales are made on the third contact. So I'm going to ask you one more time. How many people would have given up after the third contact? Be honest. Because a total of only 10% of the sales have been closed. So there's 90% of the business out there that's still existing, that's still ready to buy, they're still in the market, but you didn't take time to build the rapport with them. You didn't take time, you wrote them off, you prejudged them. You thought, oh, screw them. They don't want to buy. That guy's wasting my time. Now, is there some scenarios where the guy's going to be wasting your time? Yes. Is there any reason that you shouldn't still go in there if they're along your way and stop in and say, hey, what's up, man? Just want to say hey to you. You know, remember this, and this is especially in the car industry. Maybe you go into a store and the guy's nice to you, but he blew you off. Do you know what the chances of him being working in another store in 30 days is? extremely high. Turnover is massive. So when you got somebody being cool to you, but yet they might not be in the market, doesn't mean they're not in the market later. That deal I got today that I was talking about, the guy in Missouri, was sent to me by a guy I worked with 8 years ago that I haven't talked to in 2 years. He just mentioned my name on a Facebook group, and the guy called me because he knew I was good at mail. Now, the guy that I worked with 8 years ago, blah, 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 I mean, was there any reason to ever, be nice to him or keep in touch with him? Of course. Let everybody know what you're doing. Still go back. Let them know who you are. Maybe you don't put them on a weekly revolving visit. Maybe you put them on a monthly revolving visit. But you try and contact them. Every single person you ever come in contact with, you didn't do your job if you don't leave there with knowing one thing that they're passionate about. Whether it's the Steelers or, the Braves or the Falcons, or if they love hunting or fishing, anything. You should always try and focus yourself to get that one piece of evidence or that one piece of information, so the next time you run across something, the guy's into fishing, you're out on the weekend with your mom looking at garage sales, wasting time, and you see 10 fishing lures for 25 cents. Pick them up, man, and go take them to your buddy you know's into fishing. You got tickets to the Braves, and dude, I've done this a lot. I've got tickets to the Braves. I can't go. I've got a webinar. I've made other plans or whatever's happened that I just really, honestly, don't feel like driving all the way downtown. Oh, that's right. Casey Coffee at Gwinnett Place Ford loves the Braves. Run by there. Hey, Casey, man, I don't know if you can use these. Here's your 2 tickets. Give them to your top salesman if you can't. Whoa, Sid, what have you been doing? Man, I'm too busy, but I'll come by next week and show you, man. I've got some mailers you'll love. Wait till you see what we're doing with social media. It's going to blow your mind. What are you doing with social media? Nothing? I'll see you next week. You see what I mean? You have to, use this. So to establish one contact and think they're done, or to establish a second contact and get frustrated, or even to establish a third contact and quit. Now let's go one step further. Fourth contact. 10% of sales are made on the fourth contact. That's better. That's good. Let me ask one more time. How many people would have walked in there 4 times? How many people would have contacted this guy 4 times? How many people would have not, just moved on and thought, okay, the guy doesn't like me or doesn't want to deal with me? All of us would have. A lot of us would have, right? Here's the cool thing that I noticed by looking at these percentages, okay? When you get blown off the first time, or it didn't go the way you thought the first time, or maybe you do get another appointment, but you didn't close the deal and you thought you were going to change your life today with a $5,000 contract, right? You know what's exciting about knowing the next time you get to go see them? Your chances of closing them increase every time you do it. Every time you get sent out of there, but yet you have a reason to come back, you've got an increased chance of closing them. That is awesome. You should be excited about it. You know every time you go back in there, you're increasing your chance of closing. Statistics show it, whether you're a great salesman or not. And you know you're becoming a better salesman every day because you're training. I'm excited about that. I would look at certain certain appointments is to be the same. You know what I mean? And let me look through and see some. I see a ton of questions. Let me try and answer some of these real quick. A lot of us agreed that we wouldn't go in there 3 or 4 times. Okay, this is a great question. Tom, he goes, so I now have people to call back from last year. What are some good lines to get back into the prospects after a long time? Call them up and say, hey, this is Sid. I was calling you back. I know you showed a little interest in reputation management last year. I see that you're obviously building and growing. Are you wanting to get a little bit more serious about about protecting your reputation this year? Hey, you want to talk to me? I got some new stuff. I want to show you how to give everybody in the building a raise. You know what I mean? Have you talked to anybody? You know, I don't know. It's tough after a year because you let them cool off. It's kind of like if I didn't email y'all for a year and then all of a sudden came back. It's hard. You want to keep that rapport. You want to keep that connection, you know. But just call them up and say, hey, you got new exciting things. Whatever you've picked up in the last year, direct mail, or if you picked up, if socials just now started getting, I don't know what all you offer, but whatever new you offer, say, listen, I know you weren't interested in the rep management, but you got to see what I can do with social. Give me 10 minutes of your time. I'll give it to you for free. You know, I know you're busy, so am I. That's why I want to meet now. So if they say no in a polite way, after the first contact, you should still go back. This is what I honestly, 100% truly, with all my heart, believe. Anytime two people meet, there's a sale made. That's a fact. I'm telling you right now, it's a fact. Even not even in sales situations, with your mom or meeting your in-laws, or even when you met your girlfriend or your wife the first time, I promise you, you don't think you're a salesman, or you do think you're a salesman. Either way, you sold her. You sold her on the big package, man. You know what I mean? So if somebody says no, that means I didn't listen enough, because I didn't hear what they were asking or where their weakness was. Now, occasionally, are you going to run across the guy that's a know-it-all and just going to combat every single thing that you say with a rebuttal because he's really just not interested and he's trying to act like he's got his game in line? Yeah, a know-it-all, a weasel. He'll struggle all his life. You know what I mean? But genuinely, when you sit down and you build rapport with somebody, if you listen to every single thing that they say that they need, and if you interview them properly, they will tell you, and you will have a solution. There's a deal every time. Now, you're right. Occasionally you get that guy, but I hate to hear no's. And honestly, I'm a firm believer. I make people say no twice. I don't even hear them the first time. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I didn't go over this correctly. Because everybody else I've showed this to is jumping at the opportunity for it. So obviously I missed something. Make them say no twice. Let's see here. We got another question. It says, email like a personal news release, website update. Email's a nice little way to contact them. But if you haven't talked to them in a while, you know, I would walk my butt in the door, call them directly. Don't hide behind curtains. This is a face-to-face business. This is the truth. And I've talked to a lot of you on the phone. I've talked to a lot of you in webinars. I've talked to a lot of you via email or in the group. Yes or no? Answer this question right now. Did you buy my product or get on this webinar because you want to have a successful business or a more successful business in 2013? Yes or no? Because I can tell you what you want to hear, or I can tell you the truth. And I don't feel like I would be I don't feel like I'd be giving you what you can get out of me if I told you what you want to hear. Truth is, you need to walk in the doors. You need to walk in the doors, but I want you to pull that pressure off of you a little bit, because I want you to pull that pressure off of you a little bit, because I don't want you to think that you got to close them and have the answers to everything. I want you to know that all you're walking in there to do is, to 1, make a friend, 2, find out what they love to death, 3, set up a second appointment. Now, that's easy. That's not hard. That's no pressure. You don't have to do all this homework and you know, get everything together so you have the answer to every little question. This is not your final exam. In fact, you can fail and you'll still pass, because you can take as many tests as you want as long as you got the cojones to walk in the door, right? So anyways, not to get too far on that. So one thing, so 80% of sales made are on the 5th to 12th contact. Now, that's amazing, but it's realistic. And you know, I started thinking about my contacts. I feel like I close them down pretty quick, but even some of my existing clients, when they call and I sell them some additional mail, or like I got this one guy to start doing some social stuff, I was like, I didn't even close him down on the first contact. Even when he called me and asked me about it, it took about 5 or 6 follow-ups before I actually got the deal. And it's true. But you got to know that you give you got to follow up. Now, Brian would probably kill me to talk about it when he's on the boat, but I love the guy to death. You know how many times he followed up with the guy? He called the guy once at night. The guy said, call me tomorrow. I was on the phone with him in the calls in the day. He called him once during the day. The guy said, call me back in 15 minutes. He called him. He said he would call Brian in 15 minutes. Brian called him in 15 minutes. The guy blew him off one more time for another 15 minutes. Brian called him back in 15 minutes. Then the guy said he called Brian. Brian waited, called him back. Brian went through almost 6 follow-ups in 24 hours. Now, most people would have thought, all right, this guy's turning me down. He's obviously not telling me the truth. He don't want to lay it on me. He don't want to say what it is. But until the guy says no, and if you take the Syd's route of thinking, until the guy says no twice, keep following up. Don't let him get you down. What's the worst thing can happen? I mean, you got to fish on. You just got to set the hook. So, all right. So, let's see. I don't know how much time I've already went or not, but hopefully I've given you all a little bit of content, a little bit of information here that's going to push you through on that follow-up and to remind you. Those of you in the automotive course, you know the third's coming up on Wednesday. Got to hit the ground running. Everybody knows the end of the month, beginning of the month's a tough time to call on dealers. But starting Wednesday, every single one of you should have some people to go see. I'm talking about walk-in doors. No emails, no scrapers, no secret way to get a lead, no sitting at home hoping somebody calls you. I'm talking about if you want to be successful, put your best clothes on, grab your cards. If you don't have cards, it don't even matter, really. Get your business cards, walk indoors, and make friends, and set them up just for an additional follow-up. I promise you, if you'll do this every week in 30 days, your business will be light years different than it is right now today. Don't make excuses. Don't say you don't have gas money, because Syd will send it to you. Don't say that you can't, you're embarrassed to do it, or for whatever reason. Don't make excuses. Step out there and take a chance. I've always told everybody, if you're scared to cold call, go karaoke one night. It'll really break down the wall for you. So the last thing I want to talk about, and this is the truth, and this is the mentality that I want every one of you to have, because whether you're a wolf or a sheep, you can always become a sheep. If you're a wolf, you can turn into a sheep, and if you're a sheep, you can become a wolf. Every time I make a decision, or if I'm looking at my life or my business, I think about myself. Am I a wolf or am I a sheep? I think there's no question what I am. I'm a wolf. I'm not the sheep waiting for it to happen. Take responsibility. Everything is under your control and your responsibility. Do not lay back and let our government or anybody else decide your future. Your future is in your hands and your hands only. And you need to be the wolf and lead the pack, even if you're the lone wolf, even if everybody around you is laughing at you. Look at those pictures of Syd in those suits. look at Syd with his page. Who does Syd think he is? You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm a wolf, man. All the people that are hating. If you're creating haters, you're doing something right. If you're out creating action, that's going to cause criticism. With criticism creates haters, man. And if you're out there creating haters, here's to you, because I'll see you on the upside very soon, because you're gonna start seeing some business close. So every morning, I want everybody to ask themselves simple questions: are you a wolf or a sheep today? You need to be a wolf. You need to have that wolf mentality. So, all right, so that's about it. Any quick questions that anybody may or may not have on some issues they've had walking into a dealer, or any good stuff I can answer real quick while you got me live that a lot of people would know about? Let's see. We got a big one here. Let me read it. Is part of the rapport to continue educating them versus trying to pitch them in the follow-up? Do you feel this is more of a gut or, when the pitch is, and honestly, in most cases or scenarios, people are going to ask you, so what's the price? And when they ask what's the price, they're asking, and maybe we'll talk about, but they're asking to buy. So you have ways, and I can show you ways. You have ways to ask people if they're going to buy without saying, hey, are you going to buy? Like, for instance, and I'll just give you examples because I did this in the car business a lot. You never ask somebody, do you want to buy today? That was so tacky. I hated that old school mentality. But you would ask somebody, hey, could you consider seeing this vehicle in your driveway for the next 3 years? Is this the color you would want? Well, yes, Sid, it is. What are they saying? They're going to buy. So when you feel that they're ready to purchase and they're going to give you a buying signal, move on with your pitch. Move on for the close. But as long as you can continually educate or continually give them information and they're listening and not kicking you out the door, then you're still establishing rapport and it's going to end up being a close. I don't see you having to do this more than 2 or 3 times or once or twice even before you're going to find out whether you got something or not. And the only reason why you would continually educate after the first or second visit is if you chose to start educating them on some other product or some other type service that you can provide. Let's see what else we got. Who would you go for first, the GM or the owner? Ugh. I'd go after whichever one would allow me to talk to him. And unfortunately, as people get like higher and higher up, they tend to get more removed from reality. But honestly, if you could talk to the owner, talk to him. I mean, that's the guy that's definitely going to be a decision maker. And if you get him on your side, he's gonna put pressure on the GM. All right, we had one question where the lady or the Mercedes store that's owned by AutoNation, and they said AutoNation had to approve. You need to contact the director at AutoNation. There's a sales director. Contact them and find out if it is him to approve. I'll be honest with you, that could have been a left-handed turn down because a lot of dealers, I mean, they're general managers. I mean, they can sign the checks, but they can't make a decision. If you build value in the necessity of what you're offering, I promise you that guy can write you a check for it without any approval. So let's see what this says. It says, you said the first contact should be to make a friend, find out what they love, set up a second appointment. Can you give us an example of this dialogue you might use? Does anybody want to get on and let's role play some? Let's role play right here for anybody. It's kind of hard for me to be both people. First, all right, so I won't mention names, but somebody said, Sid, I have a cheap-looking car. What if they ask me, why do you drive this cheap car? Don't park in front of the dealership, park in the back. If it bothers you that much. Second off, I've driven nice cars, and I've driven bad cars, and I've driven good cars, and I've driven whatever. You're better off in a decent car than you are a nice car. I mean, I had a 2007 S550 Carlson Mercedes. It was sick. It was in Dub magazine. It was hot. It had 22-inch wheels. It looked like it was a rap video, really. And when I learned real quick to quit driving that to dealers because it was awful. I would hide in the back. I literally hide my car in the back of the dealership. It just doesn't, it's not good. Sometimes it was good after they got to know you, but it wasn't good when you first walked in. They thought you were a shark. Okay, here's a great question, Todd. How often do you follow up once you made the sale? How do you juggle all the clients? You just, that's part of the business, man. You got to follow up. I constantly follow up like with direct mail, I know they do something every once a month. So I always kind of give them a call midway, and I'll find out, like, one of my big clients I'm dealing with right now, he's a platform over 12 stores. So I've actually established relationships with his managers at the stores. One, because I don't want this guy holding me over the fire telling me that the mail's not working, right? So I contacted his manager directly and go, hey, how'd that mail go, man? Get some appointments, sell some cars, great. And then I will call the platform manager and report to him what I know about his store. Hey, man, that's awesome. Gainesville just did 78 appointments, sold 35 cars. Not bad, huh? And just, have a reason to keep talking, continually talk to him. All right, so let's see. All right, hold on a second. We got, okay, went into a Toyota dealership last week for a maintenance test. I have a 1990 Camry. It was because of the old car that I scored a second meeting, yes. Totally improv. That's right. They love older cars. That's awesome. I call that, for lack of a better word, I call that weaseling, and I'm a weaseling mother. I'm just telling you, I weasel consistently. If I have a reason to walk into somewhere to get tires, or if I take my car for oil or something like that, if I have a dealership that I've had a hard time getting through to, I will take my car up in there and service that sucker so fast. Just because I'm like, hey, well, who are you? I ain't got time. Okay, well, I'll go sit back with my car that's in your service department. You know what I mean? They'll never say that, but if they did, you're prepared for that, right? There's nothing wrong with giving yourself that opportunity. I love it. That's good. All right, so here it is. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to ask yourself, are you a wolf or a sheep? In fact, I'd like you to put in the Facebook group if you're going to be a wolf or a sheep, because that mentality right there alone, my friend, I'm going to tell you right now, will make you successful. If you decide to start being a wolf and decide to start carving your own ground and take responsibility for your life, because only you and yourself can, you're going to see business change right before your very eyes. You got to be excited and ready to hit the ground running. All right, so I hope that helped everybody. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We've got the thing in October, or the weekend of the 27th. We've got the workshop in Atlanta. If not all, I'm sure, we've got a bunch of people going, but if you're not going, try and consider it. Try and get that weekend open. That's going to be invaluable information that you're going to learn live with me and Brian right there with you, working in a workshop. It's not going to be a pitch fest. There's going to be nobody pitching, in fact. It's just going to be us working with you and teaching you and working with you and doing role playing and working with you in different situations. We're going to show you how to write PR articles. We're going to show a bunch of stuff. But other than that, we got some other stuff coming up. Thursday night, I'm going to have something with Daryl Eves. I don't know if any of y'all know him. He does some stuff with YouTube, and he is the best at it. So I'll send y'all some emails telling you all about that. But by the way, decide right now if you're going to be a wolf or a sheep, and you'll decide whether or not you're going to be successful or not. Talk to you all later. Thank you.